Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to In Time. My name is Nicholas Lamar Suter. Thank you for joining me. And with me today is 𝐒𝐻𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐿. 𝐒𝐻𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐿, how are you?
I am outstanding.
Good, good. Glad to hear it. So, dunk on you, $20 each day, more unhinged crap, distractions, 𝐒𝐨𝐻𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐿, 𝐻𝐸𝐿 𝐸𝐿. And Lindsey Graham is attempting to pass a new package of sanctions. We're keeping an eye on that. It's a pretty significant package. The argument is that really at this point, you know, the war has to be ended, and the only way to do it is to sanction the living daylights out of Russia, which it's one of those things where that's what I heard the last time we did sanctions, and there's always something we haven't sanctioned, and I kind of understand why. It's so that you have more ammunition in the future, but at this point, if they don't take down Russia's economy as quickly as possible, you are just throwing away Ukrainian lives. It's that simple. Unfortunately, Trump has absolutely no interest in that. He's interested in weapons of mass destruction or weapons of mass distraction. We'll get to that in a second. Daddy Jim, 10 pounds sterling. Thank you for the continuous efforts bringing the latest news. Sir, Slava Ukraine, 𝐻𝐸𝐿 Slava, and thank you. It is our genuine pleasure. So, let's see. We've got some news that seems funny, but is really terrifying. And we've got two pieces of news, both of which fall into that category. Let's start with the first one. The White House today designated as a presidential action, a memorandum designating fentanyl as a weapon of mass distraction. This is, at first, really kind of, you don't know what to say or think about it. It's preposterous. It's absurd. I'm going to get into what this actually says because it's really scary, and it is. We've had chats with Commander McMillan on what to expect in Venezuela, what to expect, and it's what we're seeing today is the next step in each of these, and these are not good things. So, Section 1, illicit fentanyl is closer to a chemical weapon than a narcotic. That is utter horse shit. By the way, fentanyl has legitimate uses. It is in every hospital in the United States, just about, roughly. I mean, it's an analgesic. It's a very powerful one. Great for after severe or urgent surgeries. It's quite important. The manufacture and distribution of fentanyl, primarily by organized criminal networks, threatens our national security and fuels lawlessness in our hemisphere and at our borders. He talks a bit about the cartels, which he's designated terrorist organizations. He's also designated, by the way, yesterday he designated the Venezuelan government a terrorist organization. So this is presumably empowering him to engage in regime change. As President of the United States, it is my highest duty to defend this country and its citizens. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Accordingly, I hereby designate illicit fentanyl and its core precursor chemicals as weapons of mass destruction, WMDs. Now, he is smart enough at least to point out that there are legal and legitimate uses for fentanyl, and he is only talking about the illegal fentanyl. He does claim that fentanyl kills about 300,000. That's a third of a million people every year. It does not. It kills about 40,000 a year. But we'll get into that again in just a minute. The Attorney General shall immediately pursue investigations and prosecutions into fentanyl trafficking. Now, that can only be in the U.S. Secretary of State, Secretary of Treasury will also do so. Here's the key. The Secretary of War and the Attorney General shall determine whether threats posed by illicit fentanyl and its impact on the United States warrant the provision of resources from the Department of War to the Department of Justice to aid in the enforcement of Title 18 of the U.S. Code consistent with 10 U.S.C. 282. So what he's saying here is that in the interest of national security and to defend from weapons of mass destruction, which, what is it? There was a, let's see, it's USC. I forget if that's the one that came after the Iraq War. I think it is. the special designation that permits the deployment of the military to stop WMDs. However, fentanyl that he's talking about is here. So this ostensibly, and since he's involving the Attorney General, it's for deployment in the U.S., not for deployment outside the U.S. So this is what I think personally, and I'm going to ask Xander in a minute, is basically a means to deploy the military on the streets of the United States going after weapons of mass destruction. Weapons of mass destruction, by the way, I did go to the FBI.gov. They declare weapons of mass destruction. They say a destructive device such as explosive or incendiary bomb, rocket, or grenade, a weapon that is designed to cause death, serious injury through toxic or poisonous chemicals, a weapon that contains a biological agent or toxin, or a weapon that is designed to release dangerous levels of radiation or radioactivity. Fentanyl is none of those. It is not a weapon. It is not being deployed as a weapon. Having said that, its designation now as a WMD opens up significant wartime powers to President Trump. Is Andrew? Any thoughts on this beauty that dropped today?
Oh, you gotta love it. And everybody keeps wondering why I don't support Trump and yet still claim to be somewhat conservative. We've seen several examples of him trying to be able to deploy military and federalize National Guard to deploy them across different cities in the U.S. And now he seems to have found yet another way to try and do this. It's certainly not a weapon of mass destruction. Kind of one of the key components to a weapon of mass destruction is that it targets multiple people indiscriminately with one use. So this is not what fentanyl is at all, especially considering, nobody's like running out there with a pill dispenser, shooting people with it or shooting entire crowds with it.
They're going to make Pez dispensers illegal next because you could load the fentanyl into the Pez dispenser and just like open the head and then just like shoot. You'll be shooting fentanyl at people. It'll be crazy, man. Gang wars. It's crazy. Do you know why I had mentioned earlier 40,000? That's a number you and I are
roughly about the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about roughly the number of people who die from gun homicide per year.
And car accidents. 40,000 people die every year in car accidents. So the fentanyl rate that he is now declaring WMD and is putting basically the entire Department of Defense at the disposal of the Department of Justice for fentanyl has the same number of casualties last year. Now it's rising precipitously. It will increase more. It's been doubling every year for the last 3 or 4 years. It's an opioid. That's why it's a serious problem. I completely agree. And by nature of the fact that it was 40,000, I don't mean to say it's going to grow. So getting ahead of it's important. But I'd like to point a couple things out. Last year, according to the CDC, and let me get these numbers up here. Here we go. Last year, according to the CDC, this is the CDC's website right now until Trump gets a chance to scrub it clean. COVID killed 49,000. So COVID killed more people last year than this weapon of mass destruction. And yet we don't have he allowed RFK Jr. to shut down both the influenza, which kills about 30,000 a year, and the COVID-19, which is up to 50,000 a year now, vaccine studies and reports and panels to try to get vaccines for this. So basically, fentanyl is such a serious thing that he's going to deploy the entire U.S. military or put it in the charge of the Department of Justice, and yet COVID kills more. And he could spend 1/10 as much on COVID and save more lives. Chronic liver disease and cirrhosis, diabetes, heart disease kills 680,000 people a year. Heart disease. What's the number one cause of heart disease? It's what you eat. like going to McDonald's. I think maybe McDonald's should be declared a weapon of mass destruction. Cancer. Why aren't we doing more cancer research? Look at how many people that kills. Is cancer a weapon of mass destruction? Accidents. The fentanyl rates, by the way, are included in the accident rate. The reason is nobody ODs on fentanyl deliberately. It's considered an accident, so it falls into accidents. But if you take chronic lower respiratory diseases, you take heart disease, you take lower... what is it? I don't think it's listed here separately, but chronic lower respiratory diseases. That's all cigarettes. So if you ban cigarettes from this country, you will save about 20 times as many lives as you would by going after fentanyl. And it's easier to ban cigarettes. Or again, McDonald's. McDonald's is another good one. Get rid of McDonald's. I don't think he's going to do that anytime soon. Again, fentanyl, last year, fentanyl killed just over 40,000 people. Didn't even make the top of the list. Well, actually, again, fentanyl is included in the accidents because it's overdose. So
yep. You take the fentanyl deaths out of there, it's still 180,000, 182,000 people from just dumb accidents, and it's, when you separate it out, it drops way the heck down that list of things. Cirrhosis and liver damage. The leading cause of cirrhosis and liver damage in the United States is alcohol abuse. It's like, now granted, we've already tried to ban alcohol. It did not go so well. But yeah, if you're just looking at the death rate of something, how many deaths are caused by it, it doesn't seem to make a whole heck of a lot of sense to be trying to deploy all of the military to try and combat this. I don't believe for a second that the health crisis portion of this, the deaths that it causes, I believe they're just excuses. I also think that Trump is, grasping at anything to try and, direct away from Epstein and make everybody forget that. He wants to memory hole that really badly. So yeah, I think it's a bit ridiculous, and it's disingenuous, because this exact same arguments that he's trying to use to go after fentanyl and to be able to deploy the military are the exact same kinds of arguments that are considered incorrect or stupid or name ineffective to go after guns in the United States as well. And yet, so it's like, okay, well, you want to go after, and the gun homicide hovers somewhere around 40,000 per year. Yep. It very obviously fluctuates, just like all these numbers fluctuate, but it's somewhere in that 40,000 neighborhood every year. And it's like you're being completely inconsistent with your principles here, and that is one thing that really bugs me.
Yeah, demonetized already. I'm going to have to pay a little focus. Speaking of, so we are in time is having a bet. I personally believe that we are going to start shooting at Venezuela before Friday. On Friday is the deadline for the Epstein files to be released. My suspicion is what we're going to get is mostly stuff we've already seen, maybe one or two things that we haven't that implicate other people, and then they are probably going to comply with by saying we've redacted all of these other things, and they have to comply to some extent because they don't know what the House committee already has. So because they don't know that, they have to be pretty honest about what they're holding back. But they say they're holding it back for ongoing investigations because Trump opened up like 12 investigations into all of his rivals right after the discharge petition dropped. So they're going to use that as an excuse, so we're going to see more legal wrangling. But he wants to drain all the air out of it. Best way to do that is to start shooting in Venezuela. So we will see shooting in Venezuela before Friday. Titan disagrees, thinks it's not going to happen. So anybody who he's eager to make a bet with anybody. So anybody who wants to bet Titan, I'm going to get my ass kicked for this later. I know it. Anybody who wants to make a bet with Titan can go right ahead and do that, and I will not be that. We'll have his hand ring monitor the bet. Oh, I don't know. I think there's a part of me that is masochistic / self-destructive because I just do stupid shit sometimes. Anyways, so no, he didn't. No, you didn't say the other side of the bet. You were against the. I remember quite clearly. We had this discussion right before the show. You said nothing was going to happen. So anyway, we'll get to Venezuela. Actually, let's do Venezuela now, just because it's a little closer. So, Venezuela. There is, as of yesterday, Trump has declared Venezuela a terrorist regime. Presumably, that empowers him to enact regime change without it being really regime change, because it's not a regime, it's a terrorist organization. He's not overthrowing a government. He's getting rid of a cartel. I will tell you this. In his defense, he's not entirely wrong. Maduro skims money off the top of the drug cartels. There's no evidence that I'm aware of that he's organizing the cartels or that he is actively working with the cartels. He is looking the other way, and they pay him to look the other way, and he gets paid well to look the other way. There are a lot of countries where that happens. There are ways to deal with that. Regime change is one of our favorite ways to get our asses in trouble, and we've done it many, many, many times. It's a bad idea now, as it's been a bad idea just about every other time we've tried it. At any rate, there is now a blockade of Venezuela, and Trump is bragging about how we have Venezuela completely encircled, which I don't know how the hell that happens, since half of Venezuela, the border is on land, and we haven't deployed ground troops. So we have the water half encircled, but fine. At any rate, he has said that all of the illegal ships, these would be ghost ships, of which Venezuela does have a number. The ship that they seized already was actually, in large part, a legal seizure, in as much as the ship had been already sanctioned by Biden, not even by Trump, but by Biden, for illegally transporting oil to Russia. Russia is under sanction. They're not supposed to be getting oil. Venezuela has been sending them oil illegally. That ship was marked for seizure. We haven't taken getting these ships very seriously. Trump has decided he's going to take it seriously. Roughly half of the entire Venezuelan fleet is sanctioned, meaning if Trump sees it, he can seize it. I don't think which half is really going to bother him. My suspicion is he's going to seize all of them at any rate. They can barely feed their people as it is now. Half of their food comes from fishing. Nobody wants to go out on fishing boats. There's a reason nobody wants to go out on fishing boats. Boats have a tendency to blow up when they leave Venezuela. So the population is starving, and now he is going to cut out their only other source of revenue, which is oil. He is going to starve the regime out of existence and then replace it with somebody who is friendly to us. There were two previously elected presidents that were probably legally elected and then overthrown or cast out of, exiled by Maduro. Maybe place in one of those. There's a number of problems with that we've discussed and we will not discuss right now. But that's where we stand. He has said he is going to, there are targets that he wants to hit on the ground, and he is considering, my suspicion is those targets will include the presidential palace and stuff like that, which may seem like civilian targets, but because he's declared it terrorist organization, that's what he's going to hit. So he's going to start destroying the government bit by bit. Before I get to his andering and find out what he wants, I do want to point out one thing. We did get another, what did we get? Sinister Porpoise, 256, Trump declares books weapons of mass, Trump to declare books weapons of mass instruction. Just as good a reason to get rid of them for him. But I do want to make sure that everybody in the audience, because I know there are people concerned, especially LJ, about the goat. The goat is right behind this super chat message, and when it goes away, you will see a perfectly intact goat, happy, thriving. Everything's fine, LJ. I just wanted to make you aware. I've been texting all my friends and letting them know that the goat is fine. I think once I may have inadvertently sent you that text, but goat's doing good. Yes, I am a little under the weather, which is why I'm trying to do things a little quickly and move on. But so I am, sir, a little under the weather. Thank you for your concern. Daddy Jim gifted 5 memberships, and then as a member, 8 months, asked if I had the sniffles, and yeah, I'm a little under. So, is Andering, any thoughts on Venezuela? Yeah, I think you're muted.
Yeah, let's just take the approach of starving out, lots of innocent people who are already suffering under an incompetent regime, and let's just make it worse for them and hope that maybe they'll starve enough to finally destabilize everything.
Yeah.
All for a distraction. Obviously, that's opinion. I believe, in my opinion, this is all just for distraction. I don't see any particular strategic advantage to the United States by collapsing Venezuela. I guess you could make some pretense of, they're sending oil to, people who are being downgraded from, like actual, strategic enemies to simple economic competitors.
Yeah.
So, combined with that, it's like, well, why do you even care if they're sending? Yeah, I believe that it's just for distraction, and so much for no new wars.
Yeah, I'd like to point out that the core tenets for which he was elected, he seems to be failing on quite miserably. He hasn't released the Epstein files yet. In fact, he's been doing everything he can to fight doing that. He said, peace, but he hasn't really brokered nearly as much peace as he likes to brag about. He certainly hasn't ended the war in Ukraine, between Ukraine and Russia. And he's deployed a significant portion of our military to overthrow the government of Venezuela, which doesn't strike me as no new wars. I do think one of his concerns is that China is investing in Venezuela, and Venezuela gets most of their oil refinery equipment from China. Part of the new NSS, which we are going to talk about, we're going to do a show on just what the NSS says and does. That's the National Strategic
Strategy.
Strategy? Does it use the...
Yeah, strategy.
Okay. So, So we're going to cover
National Security Strategy.
Thank you. That's it. National Security Strategy. That is it. We are going to cover that in more detail. It's a radical departure from previous ones and essentially divides the world up into hemispheres, and we dominate one of them, and we get to do whatever we want in our hemisphere. China is meddling in that hemisphere by being in Venezuela, by that strategy. That's just a new declaration that came out last week. At any rate,
because we always meet economic competitors with, the might and power of the U.S. Navy.
I know. Well, and I think so Venezuela has 18% of the proven oil reserve on the planet. That's a lot. That's more than any other single reserve that's known to exist. 18% in Venezuela, but they only produce 1% of the oil that's actually used on planet Earth. And the reason is after Hugo Chavez did a very good job of making sure people were fed. Healthcare was good. He did a spectacular job. He socialized everything. It worked beautifully until suddenly the price of oil dropped. When the price of oil dropped, he didn't have enough money for any of his programs. The entire government nearly collapsed. All of their oil refineries went into disrepair, and the entire country nearly collapsed. He died of cancer in 2013. Maduro took over and has ruled with an iron fist since then. Maduro has not done any of the significant investment to try to tap any of those reserves. They've tapped just enough to keep their people fed with the fishing. Now they have no oil because Trump's seizing it all, and no way to go fishing because Trump's blowing up all the boats. So yeah, the government collapses. Then we come in, install somebody friendly. I think the previous winner, I've forgotten his name, but he's living in Miami, Florida right now. He's been Americanized and he's been prepped. We send him in and tell him, hey, look, what we want you to do is start giving contracts and we'll get you up to so that you're producing 18% of the world's oil. But it's going to be with our equipment. We're going to own the oil when it comes out. We sell it to you wholesale and then take a percentage of the retail price with whoever you sell it to. And that's going to be the deal. And that deal will work until they stab us in the back, because the reality is Venezuela is so corrupt you can't just install a new person and have them not head south. No, it doesn't work that way. That's what happened when we tried it with Cuba. So what's happened when we tried it with every country? Thoughts?
It does not work. Yeah, it does not work super well. I mean, occasionally we'll get something of what we wanted, but a lot of the unintended consequences, leads the entire situation to being worse off than we were before. So I really think we should stop trying to meddle in regime change around the world.
Yeah, whoever we put in is just going to go straight with China. That's what's going to happen.
I mean, and a lot of the problems Venezuela has are being exacerbated by the U.S. already. So they're like, oh, well, it's just a terrible place, and it's like, well, sure, they had a lot of problems, and everything was pinned against the huge windfall profits they were getting off of selling oil, and then when the prices tanked, it showed the weakness and everything, and started coming apart, and the U.S. putting sanctions against Venezuela because they decided to support somebody we didn't like. It made their situation even worse, exacerbated the situation. Now they want to go and overthrow it. I mean, it's like this is a very clear case of economic diplomacy should have been used, not aircraft carriers.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Like they had a hell of a lot of leverage to be able to get Maduro on board with being friendly with the U.S. It's like the U.S. could have done a hell of a lot of stuff that they weren't interested in doing.
Yep.
So they opted instead that we're just going to start shooting at them, I guess.
$20, 20 pounds sterling, Daddy Jim, for your flu meds, sir. Hope you feel better soon. 𝐒𝐻𝐿𝐵 міцне здоровья. Извините, это немного трудно читать. That's to count. Читать в русский язык. It's been a while reading it. At least it's not the cursive. Oh dear Lord, the cursive throws me. Hopefully I had it reasonably close. We are going to cut the stream a little short. That's why I'm trying to go quickly. But this is important stuff, and we want to cover it today if we can, and we can. So we're going to. It was either that or make either Titan or Xandring a co-host, or sorry, the primary host for the day, and I'd just take the day off. With Xandring, my concern was that he'd turn everybody into a bunch of right-wing neoliberal. I was just really concerned. He's just, you can't give this show over to a conservative. Are you crazy? So couldn't do that. But then if I gave it to Titan, even if I thought I was getting the show back, I probably really wasn't. So I was just like, I'm doing the show. All right. And
I also would have changed all of your command keys so that you would be trying to do something like bring up a document on the screen for people to be able to see, and you'd push that, and you'd have like a duck wandering by farting instead. So
exactly,
probably a good plan not to put me in charge.
Oh, if you changed all the keys, they might actually work.
Yeah, you'd open it up, and it would just be end time logo, and it would just go straight into Atlas Shrugged. So we do have one more story, and it's
It's important because, in my view, it shows sort of the pervasive nature of what is happening in all of American institutions. The Department of Homeland Security published, and this you can find on our Discord, the document. You have to click on the Washington Post story, and then you can go through to the document. I'll publish the document there either later today or tomorrow. But the Department of Homeland Security published a new US Coast Guard workplace harassment policy that took place as of November. The policy was, let's see, included a number of changes, but the ones that concerned the acting commandant, Admiral Kevin Lunday, the most was, and he denounced this update, was, let's see, on Chapter 11, Public Displays of Divisive Symbols and Flags. The public display of divisive symbols and flags, including those widely identified with oppression and hatred, can undermine the cohesion, yada, yada, yada. And then it lists a number of things that are considered associated with hatred and cannot be displayed. Two things were moved from that A list to a B list called, quote, potentially divisive symbols. And according to the current Coast Guard manual, potentially divisive symbols and flags include, but are not limited to, the following: a noose, a swastika, and any symbol or flag co-opted or adopted by hate-based groups as representations of supremacy, racial or religious intolerance, or other bias. These are now potentially divisive. They are, so a swastika is no longer right off the bat declined as something that you can put up inside your office walls. You can put up the swastika if you'd like. It is no longer considered specifically a hate symbol. It is simply potentially one, depending on the observer. So this would give a lot of latitude to individual commanders as to whether or not they permitted people to put up swastikas or a noose. The commandant of the Coast Guard, Admiral Kevin Lunday, immediately upon this being released, issued a general order, standing order, saying that swastikas and nooses are in fact still hate symbols and fall under the category A of not permissible at all under any set of circumstances. Congress has gotten involved, and yesterday there was frustration expressed as to why the, quote, potentially divisive language was put into the new manual. Let's see. I don't think they're the Coast Guard Rear Admiral David Barada said that there were no oversteps in the language, but wanted to reiterate we do not tolerate any hate symbols within the Coast Guard. To the extent that instructions were misinterpreted or open to misinterpretation, you can review the Commandant's general order as having closed that gap. So essentially, because they caught it and dealt with it, they're saying, oh, see, no problem. The Democrats in the subcommittee have said that they would like to see the manual revised and see the language changed, and so far no Republicans have come on board with that. But the fear is alive, said Democratic Representative Hillary Scholten, saying that not clarifying the language allows for additional confusion. And I'd like to try to find, because it was absolutely hilarious. I can't find it. Somebody asked the press secretary for Homeland Security, who said that this was fake news and that they were being whiny jerks about it, or something very. It was very Trumpian. It was something that only a 4-year-old or a press secretary to Donald Trump would say. Thoughts, Xandring? I'll try to look at this while you unmute and give me your thoughts. Said that it was fake news, pathetic, and false. That's what the Homeland Security said of the Washington Post report on the change in language. Xandring, please.
Well, my goodness, if he says that it's fake news and false, and we should just let it go.
And pathetic.
About it.
It's pathetic.
Yep. Can't forget pathetic. It makes me wonder why they would do something like this. I mean, the only thing I can kind of come up with is, again, distraction. I mean, why would you do this? I can't think of a good. I mean, just because I can't think of one doesn't mean he doesn't have one. But man, it just seems like more. Let's do this, and then we'll decry them when they notice.
It may or may not be him or somebody associated with Heritage or sort of Project 2025. I think there's a 50-50. It was a white supremacist in the organization who felt empowered to make the change themselves. Having said that, it could also just as easily, 2025, the Heritage Foundation, they are at minimum a white nationalist group. Not necessarily white supremacist, although the line between white supremacist and white nationalist, a white supremacist feels that, so I gotta just vis-a-vis a story, and you're instantly going to know the show I'm talking about. There was a show that I had watched a while back. I knew the show well, you knew the show well, some in the audience may know the show, and they had on a debate between a Black Lives Matter protester and a white nationalist. And the white nationalist repeatedly said that he didn't think blacks were inferior. He just thought they should have their own land. The U.S. is for whites, and blacks get their own land, and it can be equal and all that other good stuff, but separate the races. And lo and behold, this is why you have to prep. You do your prep work before a show. The two are going at it, and they are losing their temper. They're getting really mad. I mean, there's a black guy from Black Lives Matter arguing with a white nationalist. And finally, the white nationalist says, well, you guys can have your own, country, whatever you like. He goes, oh, well, I agree with that. And everybody watching was like, wait, what? Turns out he was a black nationalist, which is to say that he didn't necessarily think that blacks were superior to whites, just that they needed their own country, and you have to separate the races. And that was what they each believed in. So it turned out the two actually had a huge amount in common on this point, and they in turn ganged up on the hosts. It was one of the most remarkable shows I've ever seen. The hosts were not prepared to have to defend against any kind of nationalist argument, and so the two of them took turns gleefully spanking the hosts over why cultures should not be spread, and it was Doritos got it. So at any rate, that's first of all, that's why you always prepare, because you never know. Your white nationalist and your Black Lives Matter guy may actually have more in common than you think, and that could be a very big problem if you're not ready for it. But that also highlights the difference between white nationalism and white supremacy, which is a very thin line, but for some people it's there. So my suspicion is that this was, they've been trying to get white nationalists and white supremacists into the military for a long time. They've had a higher success rate than most of us are willing to acknowledge. The U.S. military has a greater number of white nationalists and white supremacists than we like to think. We've talked to Commander McMillan about that. I'm sure 𝐒𝐻𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐿 can speak to that as well. And it's a problem. And this may have also just been an attempt to try to make them feel a little more comfortable and let them know that they have a safe place in the U.S. military. I hope that's not it, but I think there's a decent chance that that's what it was. Hello, Mark Reed. Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you very much for the raid. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot it off to 𝐒𝐻𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐿 to let him quickly give us his views on that. He's already given them, but I want to hear from him one more time, and then I will quickly hit just what the topics are that we've hit so far, because it's been interesting. 𝐒𝐻𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐿, any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm tired of this timeline. Can we fire up CERN again so we can like jump timelines again? Can we please do that?
Only if we can bring Titan in. I know I begrudge Titan everything, but that's only because, I can't go without Titan. If we bring Titan, maybe Mowdy. I could think of a few others.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Sure. We'll just jump timelines again, and we can have a whole new batch of people suffering from the Mandela effect, and we can argue more over whether there's cornucopia on Hanes underwear or not, and it would be much preferable to this, whatever this is. I think the parents have left on vacation, and they left their children in charge of the simulation, and now they're just looking at us gleefully like young children with magnifying glasses burning the ants.
What? Yeah, that's Trump. Trump's response. Trump is roughly a 12-year-old child emotionally. His response to the death of Rob Reiner, just like, well, people say it's because he disagreed with me. It's like, nobody's saying anything. They didn't even have a suspect in custody. Yeah, please.
Yeah, that one actually pisses me off, because it's like, wait a minute, did we not just go through a whole thing talking about how it's kind of disgusting to suggest that somebody deserved death because of their political views? Pretty sure we just kind of had that discussion, and I'm pretty sure that you came down on the side that somebody didn't deserve death because of their political views, and yet you're kind of indirectly implying that well, he kind of had it coming because he disagreed with me. What?
Yeah. So, let me. All right. So, for those of you just joining us, earlier yesterday, Trump declared the entire Maduro government a terrorist organization, which ostensibly gives him authority to remove it without it being regime change, because he's just getting rid of a criminal organization. Today, he has declared a blockade against ships going to and from Venezuela. The blockade ostensibly is only for sanctioned ships, which represent about 50% of Maduro's fleet. Having said that, at this point, we believe he's probably just going to seize any and every ship and say, oh, well, we had to err on the side of caution. Already fishing is down dramatically in the region. The reason is because if you go out in a fishing boat, you're likely to get blown up. This means that with fishing representing 50% of how the Venezuelan people feed themselves, and money, 90% of their money coming in from the very small amount of oil that they export relative to how much they have, means that the Maduro regime will not survive long under this kind of pressure. Maduro has not been well liked until recently, as the U.S. has hyped up the rhetoric about Maduro. His popularity numbers are going up. But there have been a number of attempts to overthrow him, and the thinking appears to be that if they make the people miserable enough, they'll overthrow him. And my suspicion is it will work. What happens next is what has plagued this country every time it overthrows Cuba, Iran, just pick a country. We'll see. In the meantime, today, Trump has declared that fentanyl is a weapon of mass destruction. That is correct. It is a weapon of mass destruction that puts it in the same line of dangerousness as sarin gas and tactical thermonuclear weapons and or strategic thermonuclear weapons, if you're so inclined. Because they are that dangerous, he is declaring the Department of Justice now has the authority to work with what he is calling, again, the Department of War to secure this nation internally. What I interpret that to mean is that he will be deploying not National Guard troops, but actual Marines, Army, whatever he's got or wants anywhere in the U.S. on the grounds that he is trying to find fentanyl. Fentanyl killed about 40,000 people last year, also roughly the number of people who died from gun violence, also roughly the number of people who died on our freeways. So 600,000 died from coronary disease, and 49,000 died from COVID alone, which Trump doesn't seem to really think even needs a vaccine, let alone. Okay. So this strikes me as having absolutely no grounds in reality. It's just an attempt to get the military out there so we are literally watching the overthrow of the United States, actually, with that. Also, the Coast Guard, you guys came in on, we were talking about the Coast Guard has downgraded swastikas and nooses from, quote, hate symbols to potentially, what was the word? Divisive.
Well, potentially divisive.
Yeah, potentially, meaning that it would be up to the individual commander if you could put your beloved swastika up on your desk for everyone to see. The admiral in charge of the Coast Guard immediately, and he did so within an hour of this dropping. It's because he actually already knew it was in there. He was arguing with the Department of Homeland Security in the process of them updating this, and was staunchly against it and has been talking to Congress about getting this revised. But having said that, he's issued a standing order saying that no, in fact, swastikas are still a hate symbol, as are nooses, and they are not permitted. The fact that he has done this has now been used as an excuse by Republicans in the Armed Forces Committee to say, well, then we don't really need to fix the manual because there's a general standing order to fixing this. Change the goddamn manual. Wow. I can't believe I have to say that.
I think all these things, or several of these things, are symptoms of a kind of a sick leadership in the country. And of all of these things, I mean, going after Venezuela, probably not going to affect the lives of average people in the United States. It'll probably be forgotten fairly quickly. We tend to forget about things like this fairly quickly because there's no particularly known, Cuba did have a crisis that happened with it, but generally speaking, the lives of ordinary Americans doesn't change any. And so it ends up just being something that, people argue about over political discourse and discussions and, and campaign slogans and, motivating interest groups to protest or to approve. But the one that's really concerning is, the attempt to get military personnel to find quote unquote weapons of mass destruction among our streets. I mean, we have posse comitatus for a reason.
Yeah.
And he's tried so many different times, from just simply ordering it, because of, we have to secure our streets, the crime epidemic, even though crime had actually been coming down since a high in 2020 and 2021. It's like every single excuse. Let's just throw all the spaghetti of excuses for deploying military inside the United States following Trump's orders, and we'll see which noodles stick to the wall. And the strength of the arguments are about as strong as those noodles.
Yeah. Yep. It's really, and I had seen somebody had said, oh yeah, it was the guy from Legal Eagle. I really do need to learn his name, but he said, people ask, how did they let Germany go the way it did? And and he said it happens over time. It's not just one thing, and sometimes it happens without any shots being fired. And for those of you who want to say, I want to know how it happens, guess what? You're watching it. You're living through it. So we have a couple of, Devin Stone. That's right. Thank you so much. All right. So Blonde Bombsheller, 15 months. Hold on a second. Let me get my glasses. Okay, I can't find my glasses, so I can't read that one. Mark Reed, Atheism, number 3 months. Let's see. Australia will always be friends with the people of the U.S. Narcissistic orange tyrants, not so much. Thank you so much, Mark. Oh, I found my glasses. Oh, you know what? While I got them, I should probably read Blonde Bombshellers. And wait, where? No, I think I lost them again.
That's perfectly fine. I got your back here. There's a reason you have a co-host, and it was member for 15 months, Blonde Bombsheller. Thank you very much. You apparently seem to have an unnatural affinity for goats.
Thank you, Xandering. I appreciate your help so much in this matter. It's really a godsend.
You're absolutely welcome
To have a co-host.
I couldn't let you down. We are a professional organization, so
yes, we are.
You accidentally, lose some glasses. I understand. When you take them off your face and you set them down, sometimes it's hard to see where you set them down at.
Yeah, exactly. I think we. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. Look, about the goat thing. Okay, it's like sometimes, when a man gets lonely. I probably shouldn't finish that thought.
Whoa, whoa. I just said we were a professional show here.
Oh, sorry.
Let's back off the sexual innuendo, for goodness sake. I know we're an adult show, but we're not that kind of an adult show. I think you're confusing our nights. Tomorrow night is the OnlyFans.
Oh, that's okay. Oh, all right. Thank you. Thank you for clearing that up. And YouTube, you've been demonetized for 16 months or until the goat restraining order is lifted. Okay. Okay, so probably shouldn't have made that joke. The only other interesting comment, I do like, thank you, Titan, the Mark Kelly comment. I think I'm going to skip it. Mark Kelly is fighting like crazy. Don't screw with him. And he's, I've seen a couple of interviews with him, and he's been doing a great job. They're talking about recalling him and putting him on trial. So far, the recommendation from the I don't think it was the JAG Corps, but somebody who looked at it made a formal recommendation, said no. Everything he did was really by the book, and he's perfectly fine. So we'll see what happens with that. But the other one is he is suing the Nobel Committee. Donald Trump is suing the Nobel Committee. Donald Trump is suing the Nobel Committee. Now, we all know why. It's because he hasn't gotten a Peace Prize. But that's actually not what he's arguing. What he's arguing is it's because they gave the Washington Post and the New York Times Pulitzers for... so it would actually be not the Nobel Committee, it's the Pulitzer Committee, sorry. He's suing because they got Pulitzers for their reporting on the Mueller investigation. In turn, the Pulitzer, whoever does Pulitzer, and I forget who owns it, has said, okay, fine, if we verified everything, we stand by the fact that they got the story correct, and in fact, the Mueller report confirmed all the reporting that the Washington Post and New York Times did, and that's why they got the Pulitzer Prize. So Trump is suing them for defamation and for infliction of harm based on that defamation, emotional distress. They have replied, okay, fine, we totally understand. I've read their reply was very civil, and said, in order for us to gauge the amount of distress that you suffered, we're going to need to see all of your medical reports going back to 2015. That's every physical you've ever had, every MRI you've ever had, absolutely everything, every prescription. We want to know how much distress was caused by us giving Pulitzers to the New York Times and Washington Post. We also would like to see your taxes for that period of time, which appears to have given his lawyers pause. They have not yet responded to the disclosure request. In this kind of suit, those kinds of disclosures are usually required. If you're going to say that you suffered emotional or mental distress, you're going to need to show that you did, and they get to see basically your entire medical history to make sure that you're not making it up or just taking something out of context. So we'll see where that goes. But I've got to say, I hope going forward, everybody he sues is just like, we really need to see your medical records, and disclosure needs to cover the medical records and the taxes. Let's see if that works going forward. That's a great plan. $2, the Sinister Porpoise. When did Donald or Levitt ever do journalism? Yeah, Levitt. The parody of Levitt that we played 2 nights ago, I think, was so on point. She is a mean girl in high school who was never as popular as she wanted to be, and now that she's got Trump behind her, she can say and do basically whatever she wants, and she's willing to sell out what soul she may or may not have in order to be the most popular kid at school because she can kick out anybody that she doesn't like. So that's also, it. I don't know. Any thoughts? Yeah.
Also, Daddy Jim fella for 10 pounds would like to make you aware that all goats have left the building in a hurry.
Oh. Well, that wasn't necessary. Okay. I mean, my feelings aren't hurt or anything. I'm just like, okay.
Also, brilliant move with Discovery.
Yes, it was a brilliant move with Discovery. Those lawyers know what they're doing. Thank you. I genuinely did miss the Daddy Jim one. All right. So, any final thoughts before we go? So, said we were going to do a quick show. We're landing on the hour mark, but yeah. Any final thoughts?
Well, we are definitely living in interesting times. So, great job talking that into existence, Mr. Nick. I'm blaming you for this whole timeline.
You're the one who kept saying
no. You were the one that was saying every night we would close with it. I kept telling you, no, we can't be doing this.
Wow,
you're going to talk it into existence.
How much fentanyl have you been smoking?
Do you actually smoke fentanyl?
I suspect you do. I don't know how other people imbibe it, but you've got to be doing something with it because you, sir, are completely untethered.
I am trying my damnedest to create the alternate timeline. So
okay, I'm with you. I'm with you. I was the one. I'll take it. I'll take the hit. If that means we get to live in another timeline, I'll take it. All right. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you so much. And thank you to the mods. Thank you for everybody who donated and all our members. It really does help keep the show going. We are going to be doing a show on NSS, which is the National Security Strategy. It gets outlined every year by the US, and this year it's a doozy. It's scary what we have said we are giving up on, and or actually essentially most members of the EU have basically said that we've declared war on them, which we kind of have. Germany, France, and we apparently also have decided that Poland can go to Russia. I don't know what makes us think that we have any say where Poland goes, but apparently that's part of it. So we will be doing a show just on that, a short. We'll have that out as soon as we can get to it. So thank you all for joining us. Our next scheduled program is Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern, we are going to have Slavi on with Commander McMillan and I, and we're going to be talking Ukraine, and it's downtime. We'll probably be talking a lot of different stuff, but I'm sure Ukraine will be most of it. And, one thing I think Slavi that is going to dovetail with the NSS, one thing that Slavi did say she wanted to talk about, and I'm looking forward to this too, is the Putinization of America. Yeah. She's got a point. So thank you all. Thank you, 𝐒𝐸𝐿, and look forward to seeing you all in 2 nights with Commander McMillan and Slavi for downtime. Have a good night, all.